Okay, now we have IELTS listening part 4. Remember one thing, if you find in actual exam, you find part 3 very confusing, don't worry. Part 4 will give you another opportunity to come back to the game. Okay, part 4 there is a lecture. Answer is one word only, so you can easily find it. And part 4 there is a lecture. One person will be delivering the lecture. Complete the notes below, write one word only. And in part 1 also we have one word and or a number. Even in part 4 sometimes they give one word and or a number. Tree planting. Now that is the topic. Imagine tree planting is the topic and there is a lecture on that. There are 4 headings. One is reforestation projects should. Second is large scale reforestation projects. Third is Lempeng province, northern Thailand. And last is involving local communities. So these 4 are the parts of presentation, and in each part there are 2 to 3 questions. So first they say including a range of tree species. Underline the word species so that you could track the audio. When they use the word species, it means audio is there. Question 31. Not include invasive species because of possible dash. Now underline the word possible dash with native species. For possible, they use many words. I'm solving this test with you, so I'm not sure which word they are going to use. For possible, they use the word like possible danger. For that, they use the word potential. Potential, possible, potential, or they use the word may. So possible dash with native species. Now listen, we are talking about plants. Species means the species of plants. Native means a plant that grows in Lahore. For example, that is the native plant. For example, date plants are grown in Arab countries. So that is native there. Non-native is, for example, this outside palms, you can see they're non-native. Palms, they grow in Pakistan in Sindh area and Jacobabad and all that area, right? So native and non-native means that, okay? Now, they say not include in the project, they should not include invasive species because of possible dash with native one. Possible what? Let's see.
Did you get your course? Part 4. You will hear part of an environmental studies lecture on tree planting.
Tree planting now dominates political and popular agendas and is often presented as an easy answer to the climate crisis, as well as a way for business corporations to offset their carbon emissions. But unfortunately, tree planting isn't as straightforward as some people think. When the wrong trees are planted in the wrong place, it can do considerably more damage than good, failing to help either people or the environment. Reforestation projects are currently being undertaken on a huge scale in many countries, and it's crucial that the right trees are selected. A mix of species should always be planted, typical of the local natural forest ecosystem and including rare and endangered species in order to create a rich ecosystem. It's important to avoid non-native species that could become invasive. Invasive species are a significant contributor to the current global biodiversity crisis and are often in competition with native species and may threaten their long-term survival.
Okay, they are often in competition with native species. So because of possible competition, that's the right answer. It came in the last sentence.
Part 4.
Avoid non-native species that
Yeah.
could become invasive. Invasive species are a significant contributor to the current global biodiversity crisis and are often in competition with native species and may threaten their long-term survival.
Okay, and may threaten their long-term survival. So because of possible competition. Question number 32. Aim to capture carbon, protect the environment, and provide sustainable sources of dash for local people. Underline the word sources of and local people. Sources of something for local people. Now focus the word sources of and local people. For local people, they can use the word people living there, community, and all that.
Restoring biodiversity that will maximize carbon capture is key when reforesting an area, but ideally any reforestation project should have several goals. These could include selecting trees that can contribute to wildlife conservation, improve the availability of food for the local community, and maintain the stability of soil systems.
Right, availability of food for the local community. So answer is simple, very simple. By the way, how did you spell competition? Good, well done. Question number 33. Use tree seeds. Now topic is tree seeds with a high genetic diversity to increase resistance to something. And second thing is climate change. Now resistance to what? Resistance to something. Focus that.
Meeting as many of these goals as possible whilst doing no harm to local communities, native ecosystems and vulnerable species is the sign of a highly successful tree planting scheme. To ensure the survival and resilience of a planted forest, it's vital to use tree seeds with appropriate levels of genetic diversity, the amount of genetic variation found within a species essential for their survival. Using seeds with low genetic diversity generally lowers the resilience of restored forests, which can make them vulnerable to disease and unable to adapt to climate change.
Make vulnerable to disease if you use the low genetic diversity. So high genetic diversity to increase resistance to disease. This is the opposite one. For example, if I say, if I say I don't like black color. So I don't like black color, and second way of saying it, black color is not the one I like very much. Something like that, okay? So increase resistance to disease, they need to use high genetic diversity. Now they gave the answer when they talked about low genetic diversity. I would like to run through
Meeting as many appropriate levels found seeds with appropriate levels of genetic diversity, the amount of genetic variation found within a species essential for their survival. Using seeds with low genetic diversity generally lowers the resilience of restored forests, which can make them vulnerable to disease.
Okay, now if you use low genetic diversity, it can make them vulnerable to disease. So in order to make them, in order to increase resistance, you need to use high genetic diversity. What did they do? They gave the answer with low genetic diversity. This is one of the common things. Correct answer is disease. Question number 34. Plant trees on previously forested land which is in a bad condition, not select land which is being used for. Now answer will come with not select land which is being used for. For example, if you're using land for agriculture, so don't select that land. Underline the word not select and write there avoid. Avoid. So if they say avoid the land which is being used for cultivation, avoid the land which is being used for something.
Choosing the right location for reforestation projects is as important as choosing the right trees. Ultimately, the best area for planting trees would be informally forested areas that are in poor condition. It's better to avoid non-forested landscapes such as natural grasslands, savannas or wetlands, as these ecosystems already contribute greatly to capturing carbon. It would also be advantageous to choose an area where trees could provide other benefits, such as recreational spaces. Reforesting areas which are currently exploited for agriculture should be avoided, as this often leads to other areas being deforested.
So, Agriculture, exactly. The last part here.
choosing the such as recreational spaces. Reforesting areas which are currently exploited for agriculture should be avoided.
Okay, areas for agriculture should be avoided means not select land which is being used for agriculture. Okay, question number 35. Large scale reforestation projects base planning decisions on information from accurate dash. Underline the word accurate. For accurate, they can use the word right, correct, okay, or any other word. So base your planning decisions on information from. Now, what is the source of information? Information from, for example, information from accurate report. Information from. So what is the source of that information? That will be your answer.
Large-scale reforestation projects require careful planning. Making the right decisions about where to plant trees depends on having the right information. Having detailed and up-to-date maps identifying high-priority areas for intervention is essential.
Detailed and up to date. Detailed and up to date means accurate. And what is the word after that? Maps. Maps will be the right answer. Detailed and up to date maps. Just focus.
Large scale depends on having the right information. Having detailed and up-to-date maps identifying high-priority areas for intervention.
Okay, let's go on. Drones are useful for identifying areas in Brazil which are endangered by keeping dash and illegal logging. Logging is when you cut down the trees. So two things, by keeping dash, keeping means you keep something there. For keeping, they commonly use the word keeping. If they talk about animals or livestock, they can use the word rearing. And second thing is illegal logging, right? Chopping off the trees illegally.
Drone technology is a useful tool in helping to prioritize and monitor areas of degraded forest for restoration. In Brazil, it's being used to identify and quantify how parts of the Amazon are being devastated by human activities, such as rearing cattle and illegal logging.
Okay, such as rearing cattle and illegal logging. So for keeping, they use the word rearing, and answer is cattle. Cattle. The other one is the second, cattle. All right, now the audio will continue for some time. You know why? Because question number 37, before that there are 2 points. At this point, listen to the audio carefully. Lemping province, northern Thailand. First bullet point, underline the word mining so that you know audio is there. Second bullet point, you may underline the word fig trees. Now there are subtopics, sub-bullet points, supporting many wildlife species. Underline the word wildlife. Now after wildlife, once again you will listen to the audio carefully. Increasing the dash of recovery by attracting animals and birds, for example dash. Now listen, two answers are going to come in a row and two answers are in one sentence, so you got to be alert. How to understand? Very simple. First is increasing the dash. Underline the word increasing. For increase, they use several words. We use a word accelerator. That accelerates something. Yeah, commonly they say accelerator. Accelerator means to increase. So they may use the word increase, accelerate, and then there will be the answer. And second question is very simple, of recovery by attracting animals and birds, for example, as we are allowed to write one word. So answer is going to be the name of a bird or animal. For example, crow. For example, crow, pigeon, parrot, or any other animal. Like what are the wild animals? Like tigers, bears, and all that. But answer will be one animal and they will name that animal or bird. because they mentioned animals and birds, so only single animal will be the answer. Okay, let's see.
A good example of where the right trees were picked to achieve a restored forest is in Lampang province in northern Thailand. A previously forested site which had been degraded through mining was reforested by a cement company together with Chiang Mai University. After spreading 60 centimeters of topsoil, they planted 14 different native tree species, which included several species of fig. Figs are a keystone species because of the critical role they play in maintaining wildlife populations. They are central to tropical reforestation projects as they accelerate the speed of the recovery process by attracting animals and birds which act as natural seed dispersers.
Okay, by accelerating, or they accelerate the speed of recovery. Now one thing is synonym of increasing and second is of recovery. So correct answer is speed. Okay, now for example, and we've got, all right, now we go on to question number 38, animals or birds. Let's see what that is.
This helps to promote diversity through the healthy regrowth of a wide range of plant species. Unlike the majority of fruit trees, figs bear fruit all year round, providing a reliable food source for many species. At this site, for example, after only 3 rainy seasons, monkeys started visiting to eat the fig fruits, naturally dispersing seeds through defecation.
Okay, so answer is monkeys. Now those who say monkey, please now correct yourself. Monkey. And donkey is donkey. Yeah. Okay. Question number 39, involving local communities. Destruction of mangrove forests in Madagascar made it difficult for people to make a living from. Underline, make a living from. Make a living means to earn money. Make a living from what? And we are talking about natural resources. For example, make a living from fruits. Make a living from agriculture. Make a living from. Now, what is it?
Reforestation projects should always aim to make sure that local communities are consulted and involved in the decision-making process. The restoration of mangrove forests in Madagascar is an example of a project which has succeeded in creating real benefits for the community. Destruction of the mangrove forests had a terrible impact on plant and animal life, and also badly affected the fishing industry, which was a major source of employment for local people living in coastal areas.
Fishing industry, which is the major source of living for many people living there.
Reforestation project impact on plant and animal life, and also badly affected the fishing industry, which was a major source of employment for
major source of employment. So make a living from and major source of employment. Correct answer is fishing. You will not write industry. What's the reason? One word only. Absolutely. Now question number 40, it will come towards the end. Mangrove forest reforestation projects. In the first subheading, underline the word local people. Second subheading, underline the word ecosystem. And the last sentence, question number 40, protects. Mangrove reforestation project protects against the high risk of, underline the word high risk. And for that, they commonly use the word increased threat. For risk, they use the word threat. For higher, they use the word increased. Now let's see what is the threat.
The reforestation project involved hiring local people to plant and care for the new mangrove trees. Millions of mangrove trees have now been planted, which has resulted in the return of a healthy aquatic ecosystem. The mangroves also act as a defense against the increased threat of flooding caused by climate change.
Increased threat of flooding. How do you spell flooding? Double O D I N G. That's it. Okay.